You guys won't remember this, but back in 1990, I played with Desi and Manly. Now, Desi's nickname back then was Sorry, because our coach back then, Graham Lowe, used to say, if you guys make a mistake or drop the ball, you're going to do a 400. So we get through the drill, everyone was happy, then drop a ball, and then pass the ball to Desi, and he just throw it on the ground and go, sorry boys, and off we go, have to do a 400. That was Des Hasler. He was ahead of his time in terms of his fitness. Used to go around his place for dinner when I was lucky enough to get invited. We were watching dinner, had dinner, weren't watching TV, and then in the ad breaks, Des disappear up the backyard. I don't know what he was doing. You know, this went on for about half an hour, every ad break out there, and in the end I thought he can't go in the toilet this much. So I followed him out, and he was doing pull-ups in every ad break. And that was his little extra. Every ad break at night, he'd go out and do pull-ups. I'll bet who's doing that here? That's what about, that's talking about taking that extra step, right? Desi was one of those fittest guys when he played in the NRL. I imagine he could probably go around pretty well now too. But Desi, welcome to the best of the best. Our best 16s, the best 18s in New Zealand. Looking forward to your talk. Cheers, mate.
No, thanks, mate. I might just turn this light off, is that okay? That's great, thank you. Well, first of all, on behalf of myself and Paddy, thank you for your very kind invitation here today. Congratulations must go out to you for being here and for making such a prestigious tent. I'm pleased they wore the socks without holes today. And I promise this is the only bit of propaganda that I will use on you here tonight, because why I'm here to talk to you and to add to your development and to reinforce an amazing coaching staff that you have assembled here, and even thinking outside the square and inviting referees. It's great, so welcome, Henry, and to see you advance and maybe one day represent your country. Wow, what an honour to represent your country. What an honour. And maybe, just maybe, if you could fit me in and maybe play for the Bulldogs at some stage, I'd be more than that. Does that sound good deal to you? Yeah? Happy with that? Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that as well. No more. I'll move on. No more blue and white jokes. What am I going to talk to you about tonight? I'm going to talk to you about something a little bit different. Your local athletes, to get to this stage, 16 and 18-year-olds, you're obviously gifted, you've been spotted, that talent is there and recognised, hence your invitation here to the camp. I want to talk to you tonight a bit about symbolism, because it's a really important part of your development. It's probably the most difficult part to be a really successful rugby league player and to have a career path offered to you here now, which is what people are recognising here. And that's why you're here. But to identify some really, really important parts and some traps. And if you recognise that, because it's not just good enough to have the athletic prowess, it's just not good enough to have the skills. Mentally and mind and the ability to live and practice and perform good habits will be ultimately the reason why you either succeed in rugby league or fail. And you'll be just another one that showed promise, could aspire to greatness, but didn't make it. Now, when you enter into a rugby league club that you might play in the near future, most clubs will identify with 2 words. And I want to just quickly go through some of them. There's an accountability, there's a respect. You see, there's an enormous amount of responsibility that you're going to have to face at some stage, because you will have a contract placed in front of you. And when that contract is placed in front of you, you really start to assume some importance and responsibility about what you're about, what your life is about, and what is going to be presented to you. Because you are expected in that organisation to deliver what you agree to deliver. And if you can't, you will be tapped on the shoulder. And that's really important. And it's measured, and it's professional, and it's counted, and it's analysed, and analytics, and numbers, and stats, and KPIs, and KPAs are all there for you. The other important thing is respect. And most clubs will ask you to support, value, and encourage the people around you. And you're a little bit about that. You can see it. I've walked in the door straight away. There's just a sense of community. You know, the way the coaches have got your table set up, the way you eat together, share together, train together, report together, and in 2 days, 3 days' time, play together. Am I correct? So that's really important. These are all the parts of what you're about. A couple of things. In rugby league, when you play at that level, there are no excuses. Absolutely no excuses. Because you take personal responsibility. And that's what I want to touch on just a little bit of our time. Man, boys, you've got to start understanding what team, what culture, what belief, and what faith is. Symbolism I mentioned earlier. Symbolism is all around us. You know, symbolism in your culture. Some of you have ink and tattoos that resembles your heritage, your family, your culture. It's a connectivity. Because in a rugby league team, in an NRL team, if that's what you want to aspire to, you've got to be able to connect. You've got to connect. We'll touch on a little bit of that tonight. And we do it through symbolism. So I want to present to you tonight in the next 15, 20, 25 minutes, if you will allow me, just importance about the symbol of success. Do you want to be successful? The game rugby league to the level that you want to aspire to, you have to master detail. It is all about the detail. Let me start with an arrowhead. It points to the right, because pointing to the right is progressive. Who does maths? Who's done maths? Good. You can help me here. It points up the number plane, doesn't it? Yes. Yes. 0 to the right of 0 is 1. It's progressive. It's a way forward. If you master detail, man, what's this guy talking about? What detail are you talking about? What am I going to get myself into? Where am I headed? What's HBU? It's just around the corner. We'll probably touch on some of it this camp. You've got to understand, you've got to show some intelligence here. Because you're expected to understand, buy in, and work it. So we start with that in our head. And within a team, there are words and there are deeds that were performed. I heard Tony talking about one earlier, the yo-yo, and just the importance of the buy-in of that, and there are no shortcuts. That is part of the detail, a very small part of the detail, but it is there. And it's about moving towards one goal. Remember, we are talking about symbolism here. The reason why you are really, really here. And the reason where you want to get to. And when you get to it, this is what you're going to be pouring over. This is what you're going to be experiencing. Best self. Always. That is not negotiable. Best self always. You know, the biggest fear in this group at the moment is that people don't want to let it show. Oh God, I don't want to show up. I don't want to be a big idiot. I don't want to show how good I am, so I'm just going to sit back here. I'm just going to make sure, you know, I'm not going to come first. I want to hold back here. I don't want to look like a big head. You're not a big head, people. No. Best self. Gotta let it shine, mates. You've gotta let it shine. The biggest fear is your inadequacy. Yeah, but the biggest fear is to allow your inner light to shine. You're the best of you. You're the best. That's why you're here all over the country. You've got to let that best self shine. You can do a 16 in the yo-yo test. I bet you could do 18 the next day. And when you let that light shine, he sees it. You know what he does? He gets on board, man. He gets on board. And when he sees it, and you see it, you get on board. Because football, rugby league, boys, is about two things. Consistency of performance and consistency of attitude. My biggest task as a head coach is every week to get the 17 individuals, and I put a line right across this room, and that line has on it 9s with an arrow pointing that way. Remember that. I'm going to come back to it. Best self. Excuse me, we are totally focused. And we are really immersed in the little things. We won last night's game. We won last night's game on one play. One play. That's when Jury Lowe made the decision and he jammed. He jammed. Who plays wing centre? Who plays wing centre? Put your hands up there. Put them up. Yeah, good. Don't be embarrassed to be wing centre. Come on, boys. Tough position to defend the state. Drury Lowe made one decision. He jammed on from Nua. Set piece to the scrum, shift, put everyone across the big side. Ended up 2-on-1. But you know why? Do you know why he did it? Because he was immersed in the little things. He was immersed in the little things. We're talking about the detail here. One second out of 80 minutes of play, out of 75 hours from a week that they put themselves into. 75 hours a week, boys, they train. 75 hours a week, they immerse themselves. That's what they do. That's what you do. Nail on the detail, nail on the detail, nail on the detail. Catch, carry, run, tackle, step, jam, danger, slide. All things. Why? Because we want to channel that energy. So by Wednesday, when they come up against each other, it will be the side that can do this. It will be the side that's taken on the most. And beside that, who can channel that energy